So if you see here, I'm showing one diagram to you. इसे थोड़ा सा कनेक्ट करिए. अच्छा, मेरा हमेशा मानना है कि हर एक डायग्राम कुछ बोलने की कोशिश करता है. वेदर यू आर इन अ पोजिशन टू हेयर और नॉट, ये आपके कान पे डिपेंड करता है, पर हर डायग्राम कुछ बोलने की कोशिश करता है. देखिए, व्हाट दिस पर्टिकुलर डायग्राम वांट टू स्पीक. फोकस. नाउ लिसन. Now when I take the regard of some areas, I hope you are able to demarcate some areas like equator. So here I am showing equator. Then we have 30° north, I mean subtropical area. Here I have taken the reference of example of northern hemisphere. We can also take the reference of southern hemisphere, but for example I have taken the regard of northern hemisphere. And then I am demarcating of course one more area, and that's which one? 60° north, I mean subpolar area, and finally 90° north, that is which one? The polar area. Agree? So there are so many zones what we can demarcate over here. One is equator, then comes subtropical area, the subpolar area, and finally the polar area. The concept over here is, be very sure, as I told you yesterday, that temperature over equatorial areas remain high throughout the year, and then the air pulses are rising from the surface of equator in the form of convection currents to create which condition over equator? As we know very well, low pressure. And now this low pressure area is called as equatorial low pressure belt or equatorial low pressure zone. Done. So here low pressure condition develops over equator. Now once low pressure condition develops over equator, in a reciprocal manner, which condition prevail in upper troposphere? Now I can use the term upper troposphere. So in upper troposphere, of course, which condition prevail? Quarter-wave high pressure condition. And due to this upper tropospheric high pressure condition, the winds start diverging in different direction. One towards southern hemisphere, other one towards northern hemisphere. Now the wind or the branch that propagate in northern hemisphere after cooling, one of the branch, it will sink over subtropical area. So one of the branch is going to sink over subtropical area and create which condition over subtropical area? Quarter-wave, of course, the high pressure condition. This high pressure condition that develops over subtropical area, be very sure, is called as the subtropical high pressure belt, as we discussed yesterday. Now yesterday I told you, if you remember, from subtropical high pressure belt, now leave these terms westerlies and easterlies, इस पर बाद में बात करते हैं. But from subtropical high pressure belt, focus towards subpolar low pressure belt, one wind is flowing. And again from the polar high pressure area towards subpolar low pressure area, again the air mass or the winds able to flow. But the winds which are originating from subtropical area and approaching towards subpolar area, they always remain relatively warm. Why warm? Quarter-wave, because they are originating from warm area, and the warm area is of course in this regard is subtropical area. But the winds which are originating and propagating towards subpolar area, be very sure, and coming from poles, they always remain relatively cooler, cold. So now the two contrasting air mass, one is warm, other one cold, they are going to converge over subpolar surface, if you remember yesterday I told you. And then the formation of which particular transitional zone would take place over subpolar surface? Front. Agree? Further I told you that along the boundary of front, the warm air parcels upwell, and the rising warm air parcel would be chased by the cold air parcel over the surface of front. So when these air parcels are rising from the surface, again, not only the low pressure condition prevails, but low pressure condition get intensified over subpolar area. And this particular low pressure condition is called as what? The subpolar low pressure belt or the subpolar low pressure condition. So if you see in this way, the equatorial low pressure belt, the subtropical high pressure belt, and the subpolar low pressure belt develops over the surface. Now be very sure, the air parcels which are rising from subpolar area, I hope you understand why they are rising. They are rising because the formation of front take place. And when the formation of front take place, quarter-wave, the cold air masses which are coming from poles, which are extremely cooler, heavier and denser, they will create a type of obstacle in the movement of warm air parcels. And then the warm air parcels shall rise from the boundary of cold air parcels, or we can say over the boundary of front. Once the warm air parcels rises, it always carry low pressure over the boundary of front. These warm air parcels would be chased by the cold air parcels. And then of course, which condition prevail over subpolar area? Low pressure condition. But when these upwelling, I mean rising air parcels are reaching an upper troposphere. Now upper troposphere could be, you can say, it could be 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 7 kilometers from the surface of Earth. So when these air pulses are rising in upper troposphere, focus, then which condition would develop in upper troposphere? High pressure condition. Why? Because low pressure at the surface always, which condition prevail in upper atmosphere, troposphere? High pressure condition. And because of this upper tropospheric high pressure condition, now the winds start diverging in different direction. One of the diverging wind, be very sure, shall approach towards subtropical area in upper troposphere. Why? Because over the surface of subtropical area, which condition prevails? High pressure. It means in upper troposphere, which condition develops? Of course, low pressure. So the winds which are flowing from upper tropospheric zone and approaching towards subtropical area, the winds again flow from the high pressure area to the low pressure area. But when these winds which are coming from subpolar area and approaching towards subtropical area and upper troposphere, when they become absolutely cooler, they will sink again over the surface of subtropical area to intensify the already created high pressure condition over subtropical area. Similarly, one more branch able to flow towards pole in upper troposphere. Agree? Because in upper troposphere over the surface of poles, we are finding which condition? Why? Because over the surface, which condition develops over pole? High pressure. So surface पर high pressure to ऊपर क्या मिलेगा? Low pressure. I hope you remember the principle. And then the winds which are coming from subpolar area and approaching towards polar area, once they become absolutely cooler, again, they will sink over polar surface and intensify the already created high pressure condition over polar areas. I hope you are in a position to understand the system of the movement of air in vertical or horizontal manner. One more time, देखो जरा क्या हो रहा है. Air parcels which are rising from the surface of equator, able to create high pressure condition in upper troposphere over the surface of equator. मैं आपको फिर बता दूं, near to the surface of earth over equator, which condition develops? Low pressure, where we are standing. But in upper troposphere over equator, it could be at the height of 8 km, 10 km, 12 km. Which condition prevails? Of course, high pressure. So high pressure condition develops, of course, in upper troposphere. Done? Agree? High pressure condition develops in upper troposphere. And then what will happen? The wind starts flowing from upper tropospheric high pressure to low pressure. In the course of time, the winds, once they become cooler, absolutely cooler, because they are doing some work when they are moving. When they become absolutely cooler, they will sink over subtropical area and create a strong high pressure condition over subtropical area. Similarly, the air parcels which are rising from subpolar zone along the boundary of front would develop low pressure condition over the surface and also develop high pressure condition in upper troposphere over subpolar zone. And because of this upper tropospheric high pressure condition over subpolar area, upper tropospheric, the two branches starts moving in different direction. One towards subtropical area, other one towards polar area. After cooling, these winds also sink over subtropical area and one branch sink over polar area to intensify the already created high pressure condition over subtropical area and of course the polar area. Agree? So in this way, the whole system of air motion develops between different range of latitudes. But we know very well when the winds are flowing, winds always flow from the high pressure area to the low pressure area. So if you see near the surface of earth where we are standing, the wind starts flowing from subtropical high pressure belt towards equatorial low pressure belt in the form of a circulation. That circulation was discovered by Mr. Hadley, and then the circulation is called as Wissell-Hadley cell. Agree? Similarly, the winds again starts flowing from subtropical area towards subpolar area in the form of a circulation. Circulation means the vertical and the horizontal movement of air. The vertical movement of air takes place upward or downward, from the surface or over the surface, and the movement of wind takes place horizontally near to the surface of earth or in upper troposphere. So now a circulation develops, of course, where? Between subtropical area and subpolar area. That circulation or cell was discovered by Mr. Farrell. And then the whole circulation is called as what? The Farrell cell. Finally, one more circulation develops between subpolar area and polar area, and this circulation is called as polar cell or polar circulation. Now altogether, the three types of circulation that develops over the surface of earth from equator towards pole in both the hemisphere, they are called as tri-meridional circulation. Now, why they are called as a tri? Because there are 3 circulations. Why they are called as meridian? Because they are covering every meridian. Every meridian means the whole earth. They are flowing over the whole earth. And circulation means circulation. Circulation means the vertical and the horizontal movement of air. I hope you got my point. Achha, if you see this diagram, मैं यहाँ पर एक arrow दिखा रहा हूँ. I hope you are able to demarcate this arrow. Now, what this arrow is replicating or showing, that this arrow is showing that the average height of the circulation decreases from equator towards pole. I hope you are able to see. Now, why the average height of circulation? Circulation between equator subtropics, circulation between subpolar subtropics, and circulation between which one? Subpolar and polar area. Why that particular circulation decreases? The height decreases from equator towards pole because the average height of troposphere, if you remember, also decreases from equator towards pole. Over equator, the average height of troposphere is up to 16-17 kilometer, if you remember. And over poles, it is of course only up to 6 to 7 kilometer. And the whole circulation takes place mainly and only in troposphere. And that's why the average height of circulation also decreases from equator towards poles. From equator toward poles. I hope you got my point. And then this circulation is called as tri-meridional circulation, in which we are finding 3 cells: the hadal cell, feral cell, and finally polar cell. Initially, I am not dealing with the winds called as easterlies, westerlies. इस पर हम आगे बात करते हैं. Agree? Done? ठीक है? So that's called as tri-meridional circulation. Done? Now, yesterday I have left some area, some lines for subtropical high pressure belt. I am coming to this pressure belt. Be very focused about it. What this pressure belt is all about. The subtropical high pressure belt. ठीक है? Focus. ये सारे डायग्राम आपके पास हैं. I think I have shared all the diagrams and videos to you. So you can see that diagram at your home. See, so the concept is, now presume that here I am showing the range of latitudes between 25 to 35 degree northern and southern hemisphere. I am taking the example of northern hemisphere. And then we came to know that, focus, that air parcels which are rising from equator, here I can show equator 0 degree and subpolar area approximately 60 degree. So the air parcels which are rising from equator and subpolar area, they are sinking over subtropical area. And when the air parcels are sinking, after cooling, be very sure, again, the surface winds able to flow from subtropical high pressure belt towards equator, and one wind able to flow from subtropical high pressure belt towards subpolar area. Why? Because subpolar areas are featured by low pressure condition. Equatorial areas are also featured by low pressure condition. And subtropical areas demarcate which condition? High pressure condition. So if you closely see, over subtropical areas, 2 phenomena are taking place. One, be very sure, the air parcels are sinking and then the winds are moving. So the winds are also not staying over subtropical surface. The winds are deflecting away. They are also moving. The air is also moving. One towards equator, other one towards subpolar area. Agree? So again, basically within subtropical area, between 25 to 35 degree northern and southern latitude, or we can say subtropical area, again a vacuum type of condition would develop over the surface of earth. Now the same type of vacuum type of condition would also develop over equator. Why? Because a tremendous amount of heating would take place over equator, and from the surface of equator the air parcels are rising. Although the vacuum type of condition that develops over equator is very intense, very stronger, but of course a very nominal vacuum type of condition also develop over subtropical area, because from here also the winds are deflecting, diverging. The winds are not staying, they are diverging. Agree? So again a vacuum type of condition would develop over subtropical area, and because of this vacuum type of condition, the range of latitudes 25 to 35 degree north and south, mainly north, these latitudes are ornamentally or symbolically called as horse latitude. Horse latitude. Agree? So these latitudes that develop or that prevails between 25 to 35 degree north, northern hemisphere mainly, they are called as what? Horse latitude. The symbolic name of horse is given because of some reason I will discuss in the coming time, after 2 minutes. But I hope you understand the concept. The concept is when the winds are diverging, again, the volume of the air mass would be less and a vacuum type of condition would also develop over subtropical area. And because of this vacuum type of condition, the range of latitudes 25 to 35 degree or between them is regarded as what? Horse latitudes. Now, why they are called as horse? It's a very interesting story that why these latitudes are regarded as horse latitudes. So just see what the story was all about. Focus. देखो बहुत पुरानी बात है. क्या होता था कि in 16th, 17th century, mainly in 17th century, focus, there are no such type of vehicles, cars, tanks, and so forth. So all the wars and all the different type of conflicts are of course taking place with the help of horses. So horses are nothing but the main weapons for every type of warfare or every type of conflict between the respective countries. घोड़ों की जरूरत होती थी. And in 17th century, be very sure, the Arab merchants are supplying the horses to every colonial country or every colonial state. It could be British, Dutch, French. Okay, so Arab merchants, what they are doing, they are carrying tremendous amount of number of horses in their ships. Okay? Malo yahan par I am showing the ship. So they are carrying number of horses in their ship and they are supplying these horses, of course, where? To colonial states, the British, the Dutch. Yes, the British is in our country, Dutch are of course in Indonesia, French of course in the colonies of Africa. So they are supplying the horses to them in 17th century, be very sure. Okay? Achha, at that time we are not having motorized ships. At that time in 17th century, there are no such type of motorized ships. Okay? So what the ships are doing, the ships are actually cruising along with the direction of winds. I mean the ships are actually sailing. बोलते हैं ना sail कर रहे हैं with winds. Okay? So what actually happens when these ships which are not motorized and when they are sailing, of course basically in ocean, when their ships are reaching in subtropical area. Now subtropical area means between 25 to 35 degree northern southern hemisphere. So what actually happens, normally their ships stuck down and stop to move. Ships रुक जाते थे, आगे बढ़ना बंद कर देते थे. And now the sailors, I mean, and of course the captain of the ship, of course they are in disarray. That why the ships are not moving between these range of latitudes 25 to 35. Now why the ships are not moving? Because of two factors. One, tremendous amount of pressure is applied by sinking air parcels, and because of divergence of wind in a particular area, subtropical zone, a vacuumless type of condition also develop. So ship stops to move because vacuumless type of condition develops in a particular area between 25 to 35 and the air parcels are sinking continuously. So when the ships are not moving and the air parcels are sinking, tremendous amount of pressure has been applied or is being applied over the ships by the sinking air parcels. But the ship is not moving. So now the Arab merchants are having the fear that in the course of time, their ship could sink down in the oceans or seas. And then to reduce the weight from the ships, be very sure, these sailors, I mean the Arab sailors or the merchants, they start throwing their horses in the oceans or seas. Now why they are throwing their horses in the ocean? Quite obvious, because they have to reduce weight from the ship. Why? Because their ship is not moving. And now they are in panic, of course, that why our ship is not moving. And of course, the pressure is going to be applied by the sinking air parcels. And then to reduce the weight from the ship, they start to throw their horses, of course, where? In the ocean. And from those years, be very sure, these latitudes, 25 to 35, are aesthetically or symbolically regarded as, called as horse latitude. Horse latitude. Horse is nothing but a symbolic name. But the horse latitude reflect a vacuumless type of condition, a vacuum-like condition in subtropical zones. ठीक है? तो तब से हम इनको horse latitude बोलने लगे. I hope you got my point. Bermuda Triangle. We will discuss some concepts about Bermuda Triangle in the coming time. But if you closely see that Bermuda Triangle, Bermuda Triangle ठीक है, I mean some group of islands are located along the western margin of Atlantic Ocean. ठीक है, यहाँ पर कहीं पर हैं. So here they are present of course in triangular form, and then these islands are called as Bermuda Islands. ठीक है, these Bermuda triangles which are located along the western margin of Atlantic Ocean and along the eastern coast of North America, they are actually located in subtropical zone. I mean in the zone of high pressure or high pressure condition, or you can say in the zone of hot latitudes. So if you see the concept of Bermuda Triangle also, I will discuss in the coming time, they are in subtropical zone where the air parcels are sinking and vacuumous type of atmospheric condition develops over the surface. I hope you heard that any particular ship that enters in the zone of Bermuda would sink in the ocean, and any particular aircraft that enters in the atmosphere of Bermuda crashes out. तो जो शिप होता है, पानी का जहाज होता है, वो डूब जाता है, और जो प्लेन एंटर करता है जोन में वो क्रैश हो जाता है. Why? Up to certain extent, हम लोग जब थोड़ा और बात कर लेंगे, I will discuss what's the actual phenomenon that takes place in Bermuda. Although nobody know that why these type of atmospheric and oceanographical phenomena are taking place. But one thing is very clear, that Bermuda triangles are located in the zone of subtropical high pressure belt. I mean in the zone of hot latitude between 25 to 35 degree northern hemisphere. Now I want to provide a very interesting information to you with regard to one atmospheric event. देखो जरा. And the concept is, listen, here I am showing equator. Done. I hope you know very well there are number of deserts which are located in tropical subtropical area. I want to take the reference of these deserts. One of the most prominent desert which able to cover the whole continent of Africa is called as Sahara. Sahara. Now the extension of Sahara over Arab Peninsula is in the form of a desert called as Arab Desert or Arabian Desert. Similarly, if you see along the western margin of India, we are finding a desert called as Thar Desert. The desert of Thar, Rajasthan, we can say. Achha, when I take the regard of southern hemisphere in Africa, Africa continent, again here we are finding two specific deserts. One is called as Kalahari, and other one is known as Namib, N-A-M-I-B, Namib. Now Kalahari is in a country called as Botswana, we will discuss in the coming time, and Namib is in Namibia. Okay, so there are two deserts of course to the south of Africa in southern hemisphere over the continental landmass of Africa. Similarly, when I take the regard of Australia, number of deserts are located along the western coast of Australia. Deserts like Victoria, Simpson, Tanami, Great Sandy. Okay? So number of deserts are there of course along the western margin of Australia. We will discuss all the deserts in the coming time. I mean desertification process also. Similarly, when I take the reference of, be very sure, a country called as Peru. So at the boundary of Peru and Chile, we are finding the presence of a desert, and that desert is called as Atacama. Atacama. A-T-A-C-A-M-A. Atacama. Let me write it one more time. So at the boundary of Peru and Chile, here somewhere down here, we are finding the presence of a desert called as Atacama. A-T-A-C-A-M-A. Atacama. Similarly, if you see, there are two more important deserts along the western margin of North America. One is called as Arizona. And then of course one more desert known as Mojave. Done. So my concept over here is that number of deserts are located in so many areas over the surface of earth, but if you closely observe, then you will find that all these deserts are located in the zone of subtropical high pressure belt. All these deserts, if you see closely, here I am showing equator, they are located in the zone of subtropical high pressure belt. It means normally between 25 to 35 degree northern and southern latitude. where which condition prevails throughout the year? A permanent, persistent, which condition? High pressure condition prevails throughout the year. Just see, all these deserts are located in the zone of subtropical high pressure belt where persistent high pressure condition prevails throughout the year. Although the location of high pressure is changing, that I will discuss in the coming time. Agree? Agree. So understand my concept. There's a very close relationship between high pressure condition and desert formation. It means in those areas where the air parcels are sinking and high pressure condition develops over the surface of earth, there would be less possibility or no possibility of precipitation, rainfall. And subsequently, the formation of deserts would take place over the surface of earth. Now, what is the relationship between high pressure and desert formation? That portion we'll discuss in the coming time. But for the time being, you must remember in your mind that there's a very close relationship between high pressure condition and desert formation. Agree? High pressure condition and desert formation. Check. So I hope so that all the pressure belts are very much clear in your mind, and just you have to write some more concepts about subtropical high pressure belt, our second important pressure belt, and then we are going to wind up this topic. So now start writing, or I think you have left some area about subtropical high pressure belt, so start writing, and then we are going to move towards other topic. Okay? Chaliye, continue. Subtropical high pressure belt, continue. The range of latitudes between 25 to 35 degree. The range of latitudes between 25 to 35 degree. 25 to 35 degree. Between 25 to 35 degree. Between 25 to 35 degree. Are also regarded as horse latitudes. Are also regarded as horse latitudes. Basically, also regarded as horse latitudes. Basically, the horse latitudes